We're speaking with Mr. Jimmy Page.
Hello there.
Mr. Page has been, I know, been responsible for and I guess supervising the remastering of so much of the Led Zeppelin catalog. As you were coming up as a studio musician, obviously you were paying attention to the way they were miking the drums and recording the guitars, et cetera, et cetera. That really had to be helpful when you started recording albums with Led Zeppelin, I assume.
No, you're absolutely correct. I was a session man for, way over 3 years. And I was very interested in home recording anyway, thanks to Les Paul. But, there was lots of things that I'd heard on records that I was very keen to find out how things were done. And I would ask the engineers, if they had a little spare moment. I was just a hired hand in those days, but I paid a lot of attention to how things were done because I was very interested in it.
Now, prior to Led Zeppelin, you mentioned you were a session musician. You played on all kinds of records. Any particular favorites that come to mind when you think about your days as a young kid in the sessions?
Goldfinger.
Are you kidding me?
No, I've got...
God, Shirley Bassey, Goldfinger. We play that on the air all the time, Mr. Page. I'm not kidding.
That's one of Tom's favorites.
I think that's one of the greatest vocal recordings of all time. How she didn't blow up the mic, I'll never know.
Yeah, well, she did collapse after the first take.
Is that
right? She only
came
out and did one take. Yeah, but we could talk about that for ages, and I could talk about all the pop records I was on, but the reality was, I was a really, really accepted studio musician.
Wow. Getting back to the contemporary versions of the Led Zeppelin catalog that you have remastered, can you talk about the BBC Sessions and was some of this stuff, were you hearing it for the first time in quite a long time, or did you always have the tapes?
I didn't really have the tapes as such. However, I had worked on a 2 CD release back in about 20 years ago now. What I'd like to say to you about the BBC Sessions is that for Led Zeppelin, like in 1968, when we come over there in the December of 1968, that the radio over there or at least where I was designing the Led Zeppelin album to go was on underground radio, which was FM, which was stereo, and which was getting to the point of playing whole sides of records. And so I knew what that meant, for the whole of the States, this whole situation of this great sort of sonic radio, and where you could have longer tracks and you're not confined to something which is going to be 3 minutes. And that's basically where I was sort of aiming. But over here in England, we didn't have the FM radio like that. It was AM, equivalent of AM radio, just pop music. And there were these few little slots in the BBC where you could go in and play live. And the way that we would approach it in the going into these recordings, because it was a short time that you were allotted for the recordings, we'd go in there and be fearless, and the whole attitude of the band just comes screaming at you out the speakers, for this new band, and that's what we wanted. I really wanted it to sort of grab people by the throat, if they listened to the broadcast. And
they still do. We're talking with Mr. Jimmy Page of Led Zeppelin, who has been remastering the Led Zeppelin catalog and the brand new Rhino Records release of the complete BBC Sessions. What I always love about these recordings, Jimmy, is sometimes in the BBC stuff you'll hear these announcers that sound completely out of touch. With it'll be, and now the sounds of the Led Zeppelin, and then you guys just come in and just kick it all up, and it's amazing. How much did you guys actually get nervous when you did these, or were you so well rehearsed and so I guess had been played so long you were okay with it?
Well, by the time we do the first recording, which is the 3rd of March 1969, by then we already, in the States we had our album out. We'd already played in California, the Whiskey a Go-Go, and then we'd played in San Francisco. And we had a number of nights in a row there, and somehow right from that point, the news of what this new band was about just travelled like wildfire. And I guess across the radio waves, from radio station to radio station. Mm-hmm. And by the time we were sort of February and March, we were really, the audiences were really flooding in to see us, and that was all as a result of word of mouth and also the airwaves. So really, it's America that really broke the band, but in record speed. I don't think anybody's ever has ever been able to do that. I don't think they have really.
Yeah. We're speaking with Jimmy Page. You're in England. We happen to be in the state of Indiana. I don't know if you remember this, but a friend of mine has a photograph of you on a very small stage in Indiana, and I think you're playing bass with the Yardbirds in August of '66.
Yeah, it's the first tour.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah, because I joined replacing the. I was at a gig when the bass player sort of decided to call it quits, and they had shows coming up, one of them being the Marquee Club, and I'm sure you've heard of the Marquee Club in London. That was a big prestige date in the day. And I said, I'll play bass, because they didn't know what they were going to do. And Jeff and I had spoken about doing some guitar, like twin guitars and things like that in the band. And all of a sudden, like, this opportunity sort of arises to actually be in the Yardbirds. And yeah, I was playing the bass, but there was some numbers where I did guitar as well, and I may well have played the bow at that point.
Wow.
As well. And Chris Dreyer, the rhythm player, would have played the bass.
Okay. Once again, we're speaking with Jimmy Page. And now, have you completed all of the remastering now of the entire Zeppelin catalog?
Well, it's a studio catalogue I have, yeah, all of the albums from Led Zeppelin 1 through to Coda. I've done all of that. So, that's pretty substantial, because that doubled the amount of information that was out there from the original catalogue, if you like, with all the, the different versions of things and all the rest of it. I mean, that was a really substantial sort of odyssey of work. It's quite an epic to do that. So that was all the studio material.
Sure.
Yeah. I mean, that's been presented very well and superbly well. But with the BBC thing, 2 CDs before, now there's 3 CDs, because there's all this extra material and it gives a complete picture, which is, as I say, it's exactly what I always want to do, not just a part of the picture.
Mr. Page, thank you so much.
It's been a real pleasure.
Yes,
thank you very much.
For us too.
Bye there.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.